Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are here to discuss more of the Way of Impeccability and Moreness-Project. Yes, all the life-changing programs that our founder and creator of Nobelia.org can offer. Syl Sabastian, welcome again and congratulations on being our Professional of the Year. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for that, Jill. I'm very well. I'm always happy to be here. I have to tell you something. It's a kind of interesting and important also that doing these has been very difficult for me. But not in the way one would think. Not that I know I have much to share, but difficult in the sense that you ask me questions and they big questions that have huge answers. So I end up doing all the talking. And it's difficult because usually when I'm interacting with participants of the programs, it's a lot of back and forth. And I'm the one who's listening and they're the one who's doing most of the talking. Yes,
I
sometimes
like
I should
having you
not.
do the talking. It's about you, your business, but I'll interject more. I never want to interrupt you.
Yes, no, I know. No, please interrupt and ask. But today I'm going to ask you a few questions
Sure.
because it actually goes, it's very important as part of doing the programs that I do. Most of self-improvement, self-help, self-change programs, they start under the assumption that you're looking to fix your life. You fix yourself, right? There's some
Yep, heard
problem,
that.
something's broken.
Hmm.
No, no. From way of impeccability point of view, absolutely. In Moreness-Project, no, 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 absolutely not.
So
And
are we
therefore,
tweaking? What do we call it? We're not fixing.
I'm going to share with you in a moment. I'm going to share with you in a moment. Yes, well, I wouldn't say tweaking because really what it is saying, you'll see in a moment, and then I'll
Okay.
explain. We are going to step into moreness, but I first want to lay the foundation for that. So I want to ask you a few questions. I'll share
Sure.
screen in a moment, and this is how the program starts, right in the very beginning. Let me screen share, and then you'll see. And then for those listening, are we going to read through them so you won't be missing anything? All right, share screen. Here we go.
Here we
All right.
go.
So, Jill, which of
Yes.
these resonate or apply to you? Say
Okay.
yes out loud. You're a good person.
Yes.
Yes, of course. You have integrity.
Yes.
Yes. You care about others.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. You have generosity, kindness, compassion.
Yes.
Yes. You are typically sensible.
Yes.
Some struggle on that one. They're like, "Hmm." But yes, you are. You're typically sensible. Not always, but typically, right?
Typically,
Mostly.
yeah.
Right. You think patience, impeccability, sobriety, diligence, awareness, appropriateness, etc. are good qualities.
Yes.
Yes, yes. I love your enthusiastic yeses. This is the idea. Yes, that's all caps yes up there. You like having meaning, purpose, and significance.
Yes.
Yes, yes, that's huge. That's huge. Affection, love, goodness are important to you.
Yes.
Yes, it's critical. You cannot be deliberately bad.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't be deliberately bad. You cannot be deliberately inappropriate.
No, I'm not. Yes.
No, you can't be. You can't be. I mean, at a push, I suppose we could if we really tried, but not
Yeah, but
in
that's
nature.
not me. No, no, no. I would
Exactly,
never do
exactly,
exactly.
exactly, exactly. And the last one, you want more in life, capital M more.
Yes. Every day I want
Yes,
more in life. Yes. Capital Y, capital E,
exactly.
capital S.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Then we go on to the next slide. Now,
Sure.
likely you said yes to all of these, and that makes you a good person without question. This is the foundation on which I wish to start. You're a good person. That doesn't mean that there's not more. Yes, that we are going to connect to that goodness. We're going to connect that goodness to what's meaningful and provides you with purpose and what's significant and important to you. That's the whole point of this, right? The whole point of Way of Impeccability is to say we're going to connect your moreness to your goodness. And we're going to say there is more to learn than just being a good person. Yes, we're a good person, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we have skills of discernment, skills of hearing. It doesn't mean that our self-conception is kind of, I never even thought of a self-conception. I kind of have a definition. all of these things. There's so many tools. We're going to go through them all. But I really wanted to start on this foundation. And you were really excellent on this. I have to tell you, some participants, they struggle with some of those questions, especially some of those last ones. You cannot be deliberately bad. I've had some that said, well, I can if I need, I kind of have been, right? So not everyone is in that spot. And
No.
and that's a tough place to be. But again, those questions for some of the participants changed everything,
Wow.
changed absolutely everything, because they said, wow, wow, I'm not being treated as broken.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily think of yourself as broken, but many do. And when they answered those questions and they realized, wow, I'm actually, I am good. I am okay. Now we've got a basis to start from. Now we can start building, because it's a foundation, right? If you go into a thing and you're like, you're going to build a new house, you start off with a broken foundation. Where's your house going?
Gonna crack, fall apart.
Exactly, exactly. And if you now, let's assume that your foundations are broken,
Okay.
then let's build a new house entirely rather than fixing the old foundation. And I actually have one of the participants literally is somebody who repairs and fixes foundations. That is their job,
Mm-hmm.
is it, in construction. And they said to fix foundations is a huge job. It's very, very difficult, literally, right? And the same thing with us as people. If your foundations as a person are broken,
Mm-hmm.
rebuild and start yourself completely anew. And I mention this in a very big way
Yeah.
because many people who are into self change and life change, I mean, really fundamentally changing almost everything about what is going on. They dealing with things like guilt and shame. So, well, how do I get rid of it? I really did bad things in my past. Said, well, there's only one way you can get rid of guilt and shame. That's to become a new person. Yeah.
And you're
If
helping
you
us become a new person, right?
Exactly, exactly. If you're no longer that same person who did those things, then and you truly, truly have changed, and you can say in your deepest heart of hearts with integrity, you can say, I'm no longer that person. I
Yeah.
cannot do that. It's just not possible. It's not feasible. It's unimaginable for me to do those things. I was in a crazy bubble, whatever, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we're all stupid at some point in our lives, right? We all did things that we wouldn't do again. But that's the point. When we truly change, then you can let go of the guilt and the shame. And I cannot emphasize how big a deal that is. Not everybody's dealt with that in their lives. But at the same time, even if you're just a regular, ordinary, good person, you got a happy life. That doesn't mean there's not moreness that you want to get into, that you are not fulfilling the full potential of what you are capable of, right? In other words, moving into moreness.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say, Jill?
Well,
Sound
first of all,
exciting?
it is exciting. We need to know how to contact you. I don't think we established that off the top of the
Ah,
show today.
no, we did not.
Nobelia.org, Nobelia.org. Do you want to share another page,
Yeah, just
website,
slash
social
connect.
media, slash
Slash
connect?
connect. Very easy. Yeah, very easy. I like that. I like when you put it up on the screen as well there, or at least the producer, I think they probably type it in, right?
Yes, after
Yeah,
the
it's nice.
fact, correct. Unless you're sharing
Yeah,
the screen again, we could see your website if you bring it up. But
yeah, yeah.
um, so tell us, what's next? How do we manifest this? How do we make this happen? But people
Ah,
can't do it alone, you know?
no, we can't. There is, I mean, you can do it on your own, but it takes a long time and it's very slow, and you have to do a lot of reinventing of the world, of the wheel. Now, that's one thing. Ah, what are you drinking? It seems so exciting, like vibrant, the color of your mug. I was saying, in way of impeccability, we do things very differently. First of all, it's not a belief system. And it's really, really key. We have to be very careful of beliefs. I heard
Yeah.
somebody say yesterday, actually, the word lie is right there inside beliefs. And we have to be careful, yeah, because sometimes they can be lies, right? That we end up believing things that are mistaken. Now, that doesn't mean we can get by without beliefs. That's very difficult, but we have to be careful with our beliefs. In way of impeccability, what is being shared are self-evident sensibilities, like goodness. Goodness is a prime
Mm.
self-evident sensibility. Patience, honesty, integrity, etc. Self-evident sensibilities. And all it's going to happen here is that you're going to connect to what's already in you. It's not so much learning, it's activating and connecting to that which sometimes we hide because of society. In our superiority paradigm society, standing out, being a good person is sometimes a negative. Yes. So sometimes people
Mm-hmm.
hide that because just being kind and compassionate and considerate is in many societal situations, those are seen as weaknesses.
Yeah.
So people hide it and they suppress it. Yeah. And they think they need to be tough and dominant and they need to be nasty and like snarky. What is
Yeah.
snarky but just nastiness being disguised as something cool? Yeah. Uh, It's not nice. No, you're not being nice to somebody else, but people do it because they think they should. And this is what we're going to really make a point to do and provide tools. Now, the real magic of Way of Impeccability is that don't believe a word I say. You know what? But you're the one who's running the program. No, don't believe a word I say. In actuality, if I go with the participants and I notice that they're just believing me, I say, whoa, wait a second. You're just adopting this, but
Uh-huh.
based on what? Why? In other words, it's you that has to make everything your own. And I use two very, very profound tools for doing that. One is
Yeah.
the repeat back and the other is the takeaway. So
Okay.
this is very, very different. You asked, how do we make this happen? Haha,
Yes.
repeat backs and takeaways. You say, what on earth is a repeat back? Well, it's very simple. A repeat back is simply saying what I said to you and you repeat it back to me. However, you got to do it in your own words.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, so in other words, if we take this, what I just shared now about what, and I said, oh, say it in your own words. Well, and I really got to think, right? To repeat it verbatim, like on TV, you see sometimes with the wife coming in and the husband's watching TV, and she's a lot to say, and he's like, yes, 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 and so you're not listening to me. Yes, I am, and he can repeat it back verbatim. Yes,
You could,
but if
yeah.
that wife was clever and she said, now put it in your own words, husband is done for. Very few people can do that. You have to really pay attention to put it in your own words. Now, it seems simple. You say, but yeah, but why am I just repeating back the same stuff? Because that very act of putting it into your own words makes it your own. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. You just
True.
know that now when you share it back, especially in this case to where it's originating from, you're getting to check whether you've comprehended accurately or not.
Got it.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
huge. That's huge. You've got children. Try
Yes.
this with your
7 and 9. Okay, go ahead. Make
Yes,
them
try
put
it.
into their own words. Okay.
Yes, when you next time you say to them, something that you want them to learn or to understand, say, just repeat it back to me. Say it, yeah. This is huge, because the moment they do that, they have to stop and actually think about it. And when you put
Yeah.
it in your own words, you're starting to own it. It's your own words. You may not agree with it, but you can say, I understand what you meant. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can confirm. Now, sometimes, especially with complex points, you'll repeat it back, and I'll say, Joe, you know, maybe a little bit here you misunderstood or this, and let's work on that. Okay, and then we discuss it again, and then okay, then you come back and repeat back until we on the same page. Now now when we're on the same page,
Yeah.
now you can decide whether you wish to implement it or not. Yeah, it's like soldiers. You could say, soldiers are they have to only follow orders that are legal orders. So when you repeat back your order and you check it, and you say, "Well, no, sorry," and let's say your superior officer says, "Yes, that's what I told you to
Yeah.
do." You say, "No, but I can't do that. It's a legal order." Right? So, but you first have to be sure you understood the order correctly. So when you get, if you are literally in a situation like that, that repeat back is absolutely critical and getting the confirmation. It's very interesting whenever we text or message or anything on the over the internet, the communication protocol, it always sends the original message, and then when you receive it, your computer sends it back to me or your phone, and it says, is this what you sent? And then mine will say, yes, this is what I sent. So there's always that three times. Isn't that interesting?
It
It always gets
is.
checked. It always gets checked, but we don't do this with ourselves. What's fascinating to me is how we go through life and we just assume we know what people mean. When you actually do a repeat back and check, you're like, oh, well, and you realize when you hear people repeating back, you say, wow, I didn't really realize that's what you heard me say. I was saying something else entirely. But it's fascinating how we misunderstand so often. And we just assume that's what people meant. I see this too, that sometimes you share something and you're sharing something for the point of sharing and moreness. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a point that touches something sensitive. And I've heard somebody say to me, oh, like, don't attack me, don't criticize me. I was like, wow. But they hearing through the superiority paradigm. They don't check. They don't check to say, is this what you're saying? Are you saying I'm a bad person? No, I wasn't saying that. I was saying this is a good idea for anybody to utilize, right? For argument's sake. So this repeat back is surely huge. Then the second one is the takeaway. Now that you really, because the participant would do the program is they go on a slide by slide basis and do repeat backs and takeaways. Now,
Okay.
a takeaway is, and I could ask you, from that exercise that we did, or reading those yes questions, yes, confirming your goodness, a takeaway is like what sticks with you. What do you want to take away and put inside yourself, incorporate into you that you want to hold onto that's going to make a difference in your life. Now, for most, when I ask, their takeaway on that exercise is that, wow, I never really had confirmation that I was good. Now, you know this. I mean, I just feel that this is not an issue for you, but for people for whom it is, their takeaway from that exercise is
Ah,
profound. It's profound. It's life changing that they never ever had a confirmation that they were good. So that takeaway it changes everything for them, absolutely everything. And also this idea that I don't have to start from where I'm broken. That was huge. I mean, I'm just thinking of particular participants of whom this was like a huge, huge change. Because when you labor under this idea that you're broken, it's very problematic. Because when we understand how the brain works with emphasis, if you emphasizing something, I said this before, the brain actually physically rewires, throws the notes. So emphasis leads to more of the same. When you're broken and you're focusing on your problems, you
yeah,
end up everything is a problem.
it
How
is.
many people don't you know who've been in therapy for like multiple years or decades?
A few actually. And just,
Exactly.
yeah,
It's common. It's common. And that's why. That's why it fascinates me. You would think that, hey, this is one place where they would understand this, but no. This point of emphasis is something neurologically, it's relatively new in the world of science and mental learning and growth and psychology, etc. It's amazing, actual physical point of it. They've physically proven this now. But still, when you go and you're focusing on all your problems, you're going to notice many more, and they start to feed on each other, and eventually you're in this massive big problem bubble, and that's why people stay in therapy for years.
yeah,
But when we pop out of that and say, it doesn't mean that you don't have problems that we're going to fix, but first we're going to lay that foundation of your goodness and your solidity. Then we can maybe deal with stuff that needs to be tweaking. But and when we go back in a little bit further into the program, we're going to say that the key thing that we want to deal with is habit. Habit is our big enemy in this whole issue here. And also, the other point I was going to say about the takeaways. So, the takeaway is a very important thing where you are really focusing and honing in on what matters to you. Yeah.
ah,
Different things to different people, they matter. But when you say, this is what grabbed me, this is what resonates with me, this is what's important to me, now you make that your own. And especially when you're writing it out, right? Because
yeah,
that's
it's so true.
right, when you're coming to do as a participant, you'll go through the slides on your own and you write down your repeat back. And then when we come on Zoom, right? Because twice a week when the participants would come on Zoom, then you read it back to me. See all that massive emphasis, right? And now you sharing, it's amazing what happens when people share their repeat backs and takeaways. Because now you're also being heard. That's really huge.
Like being
How
hurt.
many times in your life have you truly been heard as a person?
Hmm. Yeah, we all
Not
want to
that,
be heard, right?
right? So I take it your answer is not that many. Yes, not
Yeah.
that often. Yeah. Again, I'm saying to be heard as a person, not heard in a business way. And even there, sometimes, you go into a meeting and you say what you say, people don't, it just doesn't even penetrate, doesn't even go in, right? It's amazing. So to be heard, capital H, heard, this is a big, big deal. And that's my job, to hear you. That's it. It's not to teach you anything. I'm not a teacher. No, I'm there to hear you. Listen to what you have to say. Listen to what's important to you. I just help emphasize it, and I make the obvious obvious. That's a very big difference, no? Because when you're
Absolutely.
doing a repeat back and you're doing a takeaway, you telling me what's important to you. In the repeat back, you sharing how you understand things. Yes, that
Yeah.
gives me massive insight. Then in the takeaways, you're telling me what's important to you. Yeah, and this is a big deal. Now there's a whole session on takeaways because it goes a bit more than that. It goes a little deeper. It's very cool because they are like, well, I may be reading this and my Aunt Jemima pops up into my head. What the hell is that about? Pay attention to it. Because it's never unconnected. It's always connected in some way. And I've had, when the participants get into this and they start to be aware of this, they'll share those. I call them come up takeaways, things that come up in you. Yeah. And they share it. And they're like, I really don't know. And then we'll talk about it. And then they see the connections. It's fascinating. And there's some moreness involved, right? There's some moreness in those come up takeaways. We are incredible just beings in how we operate and function. And when we start to trust those things that pop up in us like that, and we learn to see how to connect them, boy, oh boy, do we just uncover just a magical world of wonder and moreness within the individual, right?
So
And that's
true.
my job. That's my job. I'm not here to fix you. You're already awesome. I'm simply here to assist you to connect to that and provide tools. Because, on that next slide, I'll screen share here real quick and show you.
Please. Yeah, I
This
want to
this
see.
is this is in the opening. This is the very first session here. And they in modules, and then each module has a session. See, without application, it's all meaningless. That
Let
you
me
probably,
see.
if any participant who's done Way of Impeccability or any of the programs, I say this over and over and over again. You can learn everything you like. You don't apply it, you're getting nowhere, right?
I'm
You're
reading
getting
it.
nowhere.
Without application, it's all meaningless. We need to be
Oh,
clear
read the
as
whole
to,
slide. Read the
okay,
whole slide.
we'll be looking at the way of impeccability with awareness, discernment, and understanding for purposes of application, because without application, it's all meaningless. We need to be clear as to what we're going to be doing here in this life change program, which is to gain perspective for the purposes of making what we encounter usable and thus valuable. We're going to fully connect to the depths of what's presented to us and beyond. Why beyond? Because to connect that fullness, we're going to explore our terminology in detail so we're absolutely thoroughly and fully aware of just what exactly the power terms we use mean. Power conceptions such as impeccability, which are integral to our task and typically only understood indirectly. We'll be remedying this all the terms, conceptions, and adding many more. We'll be building a dictionary of power. You'll be building your own dictionary of power.
Yes. So now you ask, how is it that this is done? First, there's those repeat backs and takeaways. But
Yeah,
in the tech industry, they say disruptive technology, right? You need to have disruptive technology if you want to have the next big thing.
yeah,
Well, I have disruptive technology in the field that I'm in. The repeat backs and the takeaways, those are already a disruptive technology in the figurative sense of it, right? In that they are very different and they change the paradigm.
yeah,
The dictionary of power also. This is a huge deal because this is you going to create this. You're going to make it. You, the participant, it's your dictionary of power. Yes, many of the terms, like application, you're going to put that in there because it's capitalized, which means there's a bit more to it. What do we mean by application? What do we mean by doing? It'll take me a long time to get into the fullness of that. And you think, yeah, but it's kind of simple. Well, not as simple as you think. There's always more. And this is the hardest task that I have. So
yeah,
often, especially when the participants are life coaches or therapists or counselors or something, which I have, right? And they want more, but they believe they kind of know what's going on. And then they confront and they realize, "Ow, there's actually a lot more than I thought." That's tough for them. Sometimes they have a bit of a worldview collapse, and it's very tough, and they actually get a bit depressed almost when they realize that I've been going along most of my life, and I really thought I kind of had a handle on what was going, but now I realize I'm doing the program because I realized it was more, but I didn't realize it was so much more than what I thought, right? So I warn people when they do the program, I warn them that this might happen. And because some of the other participants,
Yeah.
the ones that did experience it, they said, you must warn your participants ahead of time. It's quite a dip. But that's important, though. If we don't have a little bit of the old self collapsing and space for the new to grow, then we don't get there, right? So it's very key. But this dictionary of power, I want to emphasize, we'll get into it later on. There's a whole session on it. It's a huge deal. It's a tool, a tool that you create, that you do. I'm keeping an eye on the time. That's why I don't want to start in on the way on the dictionary of power because we won't have time. This is a big deal, and we'll get to it when we go through. As we go through the episodes, I'm going to talk about a new session. Now we're not even going into all of it, but I just wanted to say, if in terms of this first session, we're gonna the dictionary of power, and then you've got to feel everything. That's also key. Learning how to feel, just laying the foundation. Because you asked me very specifically, how do we do this? And
Yeah.
we're going to learn how to absolutely be able to feel on demand, feel deliberately. And that's very key. And dealing with habits. Habits is the absolute key. Most of the time, we do a change, a new program, and we learn something new, but we don't deal with the habits of the old self, and they just come back and take over, and we're back to square one. Right?
That's so true.
Right. Recidivism, in other words, recidivism. We are
Hmm.
recidivistic by nature. And if you don't really, that's why application is so key, because through the application, day in, day out, you are countering the old self through repetition and practice and application. Doing. The dictionary of power goes to the doing of your language. You're actually going to use those terms in your language. And the way you speak changes who you are. Very profound. Are we good on time?
We're
That's a good
good.
point to end on.
We're good. But also, we got to bring up your book,
Oh,
Making
yes.
Sense of Toxic Abusive People. Can you share just a little bit about the book, where we can find
Right.
that?
On Amazon, I have both. Just look me up, Syl Sabastian, with my name spelling, the way I have it spelled there, Sebastian with all A's. You'll find me on Amazon. And then I have the new books coming, the Ask
Okay.
Biella books, which is very cool. Now, the first two books I have, they are about the superiority paradigm. So if you want to know all the negative stuff, how narcissism works, abuse works, manipulation works, how lying works, it's all about bullshit, really. I mean, just it's the
Hmm.
entire psychology of bullshit. I couldn't call the book that because I couldn't advertise it. It's
Yeah.
very peculiar. I can call it that on Amazon, but I'm not allowed to advertise. The word bullshit can't be in your advertising. Not even BS they want anyway. So and there's a whole section in that book on the 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 bullshit of BS. When
Bullshit.
we say BS, we are minimizing bullshit. And take the whole Me Too movement. That was all, when you look at that in detail, you see how it was all surrounded by complete bullshit. And, the people around them, how they didn't want to face it and deal with it. And they ended up being enablers and condoning it inadvertently. All bullshit. Everything starts with bullshit. All the negative always starts with bullshit. So it's very important to be aware of this. But just knowing about bullshit, in other words, knowing about the negative, like understanding and that you're in debt doesn't mean, and canceling your debt and eliminating it doesn't mean you know how to make money. That's
Hmm.
that's where I'm at. You can fix your problems, but that leaves you at zero. Way of
So true.
impeccability is teaching you how to make money in a sense of yourself, right? How to construct, how to build, how to be more. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Thank you, Sil. Always a pleasure
I want to
having
talk
you.
more, Jill. I want to
Tell
talk
us how we
more.
can reach you. Tell us about the Facebook page.
Yes, Facebook page is just, well, it's my group, which is the Sassy Group, SASI. Just put that in, Sassy Group, and it'll come right up. And you can come hang out. I do a live there every day. You can connect with me, chat me, message me. I'm very available, so no
All
problem.
right. We like your availability. We love what you have to say, and we want people to reach out to you to start the program. I mean, there's so
Yeah,
much to
yeah,
Nobelia
yeah.
and how you're helping people. And by the way, is this an ongoing enrollment? As far as your
Correct,
courses, are you doing
correct,
groups?
correct.
Okay, perfect.
Anytime, anytime. And both in groups and
And
individually, either way.
individuals.
And
All
on
right.
the page on nobelia.org, there's a link there, just impeccability. Just go, it'll tell you all about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here. And again, it's the Way-of-Impeccability Life-Change Program. Get started today. It's time. And you know what? You got to start making the time, right? You might, I don't have time. I want to
Yes,
be
that's
better.
the
I
key.
want, you can help
That's
us
the
and
key.
empower us, and we can really live our true purpose. Thank you
Yeah,
again for being here, Syl. You have a fantastic
pleasure,
day and an
pleasure.
even better week. Happy hump day.
You
We'll get
too,
through the
wonderful
week.
Jill. You
Thank
too,
you so
wonderful Jill.
much. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.